Serenity Valley Stories introduces Wendigo in the Forest. I don't often speak of that night, it's a memory buried deep, one I'd rather leave to the shadows. But as I sit here, with the fire crackling and the wind whispering through the pines outside, I reckon it's time to tell the story. You see this limp I've got, the one that's been with me since I was a young man. Well, that's part of it. The other part, that's something far more chilling. It was the winter of '43, a year when the cold bit down harder than usual, and the snow piled so high you'd think the earth was trying to bury itself. I was just a lad then, barely 20, and working as a trapper. The forests of northern Michigan were my home, and I knew them better than the back of my own hand. But no amount of familiarity can prepare a man for the things that lurk in those woods when the sun goes down. It started like any other trapping expedition. I set out before dawn, my breath clouding in the icy air, rifle slung over my shoulder, and a pack full of traps and supplies. My destination was a remote part of the forest, a place known to few and feared by many. Locals whispered of dark spirits and strange happenings, but I paid no mind. Superstitions, I thought, were for those who had no business being in the woods. The day passed uneventfully, just the way I liked it. I checked my traps, set new ones, and followed the tracks of a deer that had eluded me for days. As dusk fell, I found myself deep in the heart of the forest, far from any human soul. The silence was profound, the kind that presses in on you, making every rustle of leaves and snap of twigs seem louder than it should be. I should have turned back then, should have found a place to camp for the night, but I was stubborn. I wanted that deer, wanted it more than anything. So I pressed on, deeper into the woods, until the light faded entirely, and the forest was nothing but a wall of black around me. That's when I first heard it, a low, mournful wail that seemed to rise from the ground itself. It wasn't the wind, though the wind was blowing hard. No, this was something else, something unnatural. My heart started to pound, and I scanned the darkness, trying to pinpoint the source of the sound. But there was nothing, just the trees and the snow and the growing sense of dread gnawing at my gut. I told myself it was just a coyote, maybe a wolf. But deep down, I knew better. The stories my grandfather used to tell me came flooding back, stories of the Wendigo, the evil spirit of the north that haunted these woods, always hungry, always hunting. I laughed it off, but it was a hollow sound, lost to the night. I kept moving, though my pace quickened, and my rifle was now in my hands, ready. The wail came again, closer this time, and I could feel the hair on the back of my neck standing on end. I was being hunted, no doubt about it. But by what? Suddenly, there was a flash of movement in the corner of my eye, a figure, tall and gaunt, moving between the trees. It was too fast, too quiet, and before I could react, it was gone. My breath hitched, and I spun around, trying to catch another glimpse. The moon peeked out from behind the clouds just then, casting a pale light on the snow-covered ground, and that's when I saw it. The creature was unlike anything I'd ever seen. It stood on two legs, towering over me, its body thin and emaciated, like it hadn't eaten in years. Its skin was stretched tight over its bones, and its eyes, those eyes were hollow, empty, yet somehow filled with a hunger that chilled me to the core. It was the Wendigo, no doubt in my mind. I did the only thing I could think of, I ran. I bolted through the snow, my legs pumping, heart pounding in my chest like a drum. But no matter how fast I ran, I could hear it behind me, its breath like a cold wind on my neck, its footfalls eerily silent in the snow. The trees whipped past me, branches scratching at my face, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. Then, just as I thought it would catch me, a sudden yelp cut through the night, a pained, desperate sound. I glanced back, and to my astonishment, the Wendigo had stopped. It was crouched low, its bony hands wrapped around something in the snow. A fox, small and frail, its leg caught in one of my traps. The creature was distracted, its hunger driving it toward the easy prey. I didn't waste a second. I kept running, the pain in my leg now unbearable, but I didn't stop until I was out of those cursed woods and back to the safety of my cabin. It wasn't until I reached the door that I realized I was bleeding. The Wendigo had clawed at me, its sharp nails slicing into my leg as I fled. The wound festered, and though it healed over time, it left me with this limp, a constant reminder of that night. I never went back to those woods, and I never set foot near that place again. The deer could have it. The fox, well, I imagine it didn't fare too well either. But I survived, and that's more than I can say for most who encounter the Wendigo. So, there you have it, the tale of how I came by this limp and the reason I steer clear of those woods. The Wendigo is out there, lurking in the shadows, always hungry, always waiting. If you're wise, you'll keep to the safer paths and leave the deep woods to the spirits that call it home. Thank you for listening to Serenity Valley Stories, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.